Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for World Hypertension Day. This is our, second event since COVID has started and since since we have been allowed to do some activities, thanks to Governor Moquino. Bear with us, this is my first time hosting. And Renee, there is a few more participants here. And I thank you again for joining us this morning and thank you for reaching out to us. We do have some other information or what would I say? Activities going on for the diabetes program. And I will share those in a bit, but I just wanted to address why it's important to know your blood pressure. So I'm just going to read from the screen, but of course, high blood pressure is a very common condition, especially here in San Ildefonso. It is something that can cause damage to your artery walls, and it can cause additional health problems such as heart disease. A blood pressure reading of 130/90 is considered dangerous and known as hypertension. It's important to keep blood pressure under control as it can lead to a heart attack or a stroke. So the following tips, of course, can help you prevent high blood pressure. Looking at your family history and be aware if high blood pressure runs in the family. Exercise at least 30 minutes a few times a week. Do not smoke or drink alcohol excessively. Appointments. If you need any additional information or if you need assistance in helping to control your blood pressure, or if you would like either myself or the CHR program to monitor your high blood pressure, we can assist you. So you can go ahead and contact us after this, or it's part of our regular workload. So feel free to contact us when needed. I am gonna go ahead and introduce Renee. Okay, Troy, this is where I got confused earlier.
Let those people in. Oh. She'll have to put this screen.
Oh.
Let's just let it.
It's not. I don't want to close it. How come I don't want to open? No, that's just Renee. See, this is what I mean by technical difficulties. I'm trying to open this so that she can talk now. Yeah.
We did it for everybody there.
Do you want me to share my screen?
Yes. That's the
not coming up. Yeah.
Nada.
So I think you have to make me a co-host.
Yeah, but I think it's not opening. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Have it- Why is that? Wow,
Because it's showing there.
I know, but
So
it's
why
not.
is it?
Oh, it's because you you have an expanded screen. That's why. Hold on. So what you're seeing over there, see the cursor? Because you have an expanded screen. Now I see it's over here. Just push right to be up there. And there you are. Basically, that's an extension of your screen.
So now I go to Renee. And I need her to allow.
She can share a screen. I think I have it defaulted to that.
Okay, Renee, you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay. So it says that the host disabled participant screen sharing.
You want to say it?
My apologies, folks. Let me try to get this. Try it now. Renee.
Oh, okay, here we go.
Okay.
So can everyone see? Where it says Salt Busters?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm,
It's gone
this is
again.
all,
Hold on just a second.
okay.
It's not sharing.
Are you not seeing my screen?
Or not.
You're not? Because it says I'm screen sharing.
I can see it. You're on.
Eric can see it, but we can't see it here. That's the reason why it's.
Oh, you can't, okay. And there's on that green thing that says you are screen sharing, there's a little cloud with a red dot in it. I don't know if that is an indication.
That's showing that it's recording. I don't know what your setting you had it on. All right.
So now it says new share.
Okay, you can go ahead and go.
Can you see the screen or do the new share?
We can see the screen.
Okay.
I'll close them. All right. All right, you're up.
Okay, great. So as Raelene was saying, today is World Hypertension Day, and hypertension is a fancy way of saying high blood pressure. And so diets that are high in sodium or salt are associated with an increased risk of developing high blood pressure. And for that reason, this presentation is going to be how you can reduce your salt intake. And just a little housekeeping. My name is Renee Zisman, and I work for New Mexico State Cooperative Extension in Santa Fe County. And I am a nutrition educator, and our program's called Ideas for Cooking and Nutrition. And our program is funded through the USDA SNAP or food stamp program. And we are an equal opportunity university. And so everyone is welcome, and we do not discriminate. But before I start, I want to go over a couple of little housekeeping things. If you look on the bottom or the top of your screen, depending on where it is, there's a little microphone. If you would like to ask a question, just unmute it. So there shouldn't be a little red line if you want to talk. If you would like to type in a question, that's fine. Raelene, I would just need you to alert me if you see a question in the chat. Yeah. And so salt tastes delicious, and we use it for a lot of things. But as we said, higher sodium can increase your risk of developing high blood pressure. And as we get older, the blood pressure generally goes higher anyway. So especially as we age, we want to watch the sodium intake. And it can be confusing because sodium is measured in milligrams, which is really small. So if you, I have a, let's see, I have a little highlighter. Oops. Sorry about that. Oh, this is what I want, the laser pointer. So if you look at this teaspoon here, this is equal to 2,300 milligrams. And the recommended amount of salt is not more than 1 teaspoon per day. And so we really want to watch prepackaged foods, because those are typically very high in sodium. So sodium adds up quickly. So like if you look here, a bowl of cereal with skim milk could have 250 milligrams of sodium. The other thing we want to remember is that we don't always taste the salt. So that's why it's really important to read the nutrition facts. So like here, a cup of soup and a turkey sandwich. So if this soup is prepackaged or from a can, it will have a lot of sodium. So sodium attracts water, and so a high sodium diet draws water into the bloodstream, which can increase the volume of blood and also raise the blood pressure, which is known as hypertension. And so uncontrolled high blood pressure can raise the risk of heart attack, heart failure, stroke, kidney disease, and blindness. And then, as I said, our blood pressure generally rises as we age. So as we age, we really want to be careful about sodium intake. Does anybody read labels when you go to the store?
I do, because I have high blood pressure. So
Okay.
I'm careful.
And so what are the things, when you're looking at a nutrition label, what are the things that you are really being careful about? What are the things that you look at first when you look at the label?
The sodium intake.
Good. Okay, so as you can see here, sodium, cholesterol, fat, all of these things are things that we want to watch. And nutrition labels can be confusing, and I honestly feel like they're made like that, because when people know what's in prepackaged foods, they might not buy them. So there's a couple of things that we can know that can help us to understand the labels. So this quick guide is one of my favorite things, because in the United States, we typically do not measure things in grams. So if we look at this saturated fat, 3 grams, we know grams are small. That might not sound like a lot. But if we look at this 15%, the key is 5% or less is low, 20% or more is high. So if we look here at this sodium, is it high? Or is it low? If it says 20% and 5% or less is low and 20% or more is high, this amount of sodium, is it low or high?
It's high.
It's high. And we know this because 20% or more is high. So we want to see here where this says vitamin A 4, vitamin C 2, iron 4. So these nutrients are low in this particular food, but the calcium in it is high. So it's a good source of calcium, but it's also a high source of sodium. And I want to go over what do these things mean, because they can, probably most of you have figured out that companies are allowed to put misleading things on packages. And part of why they do it is because it makes it confusing. But if you really want the lowdown, you want to look at the nutrition facts label. But I just want to go over this really quick. So if it says salt or sodium free, it does not mean that there is no salt. It means there's less than 5 milligrams of salt. Very low sodium means 35 milligrams of sodium or less. And low sodium means 140. Reduced sodium can be kind of confusing because it says at least 25% less sodium than the regular product. So if it's a really high sodium product and it's reduced in sodium, that might not mean low sodium. And then low or lightly salted means at least 50% less sodium than the regular product. And then no salt added or unsalted means that they did not add any salt. But keep in mind that there's naturally occurring sodium in a lot of foods. So this is why I showed this particular slide. So this is vegetable soup and it's regular. And then this is reduced sodium. And so if you look here, this is really important too, because this can of soup has 2 1-cup serving sizes. So that means if you eat the whole can, you will need to double all of this information, because this information is for 1 cup. And please let me know if there is any confusion about the serving size and what the label is showing you. So the label here is showing if you heat up this can of soup and you eat 1 cup, that's 1 serving. And all of this information is for 1 cup. And if you look here, you will see that the sodium for 1 cup is 28%. So we already know that 20% is high. And this is something that we really want to be careful of, because prepackaged foods tend to be high in salt or sodium. And so if you look here, 28% is already really high. If you eat this whole can, that means you are going to double this. So we're talking about almost 60% of your daily value of sodium in 1 can of soup. Now this, and unfortunately we're blocked here, but this reduced sodium is half. So there's 14% in 1 cup. However, if I eat the whole can of reduced sodium soup, it's going to be 28% of the daily value. So as you can see, these prepackaged soups, even the reduced sodium is high in salt. What can you do if you get food from food distribution and you don't have a choice and they just give you the regular vegetable soup or chicken soup? What can you do to help to reduce the amount of sodium? Any ideas?
We hear a lot of watering it down.
Yes. So adding water will dilute it, and it'll reduce the amount of sodium. And then people say, but when you add water, then you're taking away the flavor. So what could you do to dilute the sodium but add some flavor to it?
Actually.
I hear some chuckling, but I can't hear.
There was a comment that says, add salt.
Okay, but we're thinking outside of the salt shaker. So what could we add? So maybe we add a can of water to dilute it, but we're worried that the flavor is going to be boring.
There's different spices, juices, things like that you can put in, which Mrs. Dash is one of those that have the different types of spices in it. But you can add your own, traditional spices or things like that that can make it taste a little better.
Exactly. So dried herbs and spices are wonderful, fresh herbs. So red chili, green chili, powdered or fresh, those are going to add a lot of flavor. Lime and lemon are great ways to add flavor without sodium. And so here I'm just showing, so prepackaged food, sauces, and condiments often have very high levels of sodium. So when we get these sauces like this, there are a lot of sodium. Prepackaged gravy mixes have a lot of sodium. Prepackaged salad dressings also have a lot of sodium, and they can also be hiding a lot of fat. So I'm a big fan of making my own salad dressing because then you know exactly what's in it and it's less expensive. So almost always cooking at home is going to be less expensive than buying prepackaged or eating out. And when we eat out, they do tend to add a lot of salt. So, so when you have the choice, you can choose low or no salt added snacks and foods. And then this right here, you know, sometimes we get commodities or get food and we don't have a choice of, we can't choose low sodium or no sodium. So if I get a can of beans, I'm gonna rinse them and it's gonna help get rid of some of the excess sodium. And then I'm gonna add my own seasonings to it that don't include salt. And this is a picture of almonds and pepitas or pumpkin seeds. And these are unsalted. They're still crunchy and delicious. You can wean your taste buds from salt. So sometimes I'll mix unsalted with, I'll do half and half, and that'll give me about half of the sodium. And then this is raw popcorn. Popcorn gets a bad rap sometimes because when we go to the movie theater, that popcorn over there is slathered in fake butter. So popcorn can be a super healthy snack, but when we get it pre-packaged or at the movie theater, they're putting piles of salt. And they're charging a lot. So these are some ideas for adding flavor without salt. So citrus fruits are a great way to add flavor. And then these are different kinds of fresh mint. So fresh or dried, I'm sorry, not just mint, but herbs. So there's like mint and chives and catnip, cilantro, thyme, oregano. So all of these are great ways to add flavor. And then of course, red and green chili always add a delicious flavor. Does anybody have some ideas of things that they do to add flavor without salt?
About garlic.
Garlic. So garlic and onions are an excellent way to add flavor without the salt. And the other thing that I want to remind you, something that I learned is that when you are cooking, add the salt at the very end. Because if you're making a pot of beans or a stew and you put the salt in early in the cooking process, the flavor kind of disappears, but the sodium stays. In other words, if you put your salt in too early when you're cooking, once you sit down to eat it, you can't really taste the salt, but the sodium is still there. And so you're adding more salt and you're increasing the sodium level. So a great trick that I learned that it really works is add the salt at the very end and then the flavor stays. And as I said, it's really, you know, the amount of salt that we should be eating in one day is 1 teaspoon. So if we're eating prepackaged stuff, we're getting a lot of extra salt. And you can use those techniques, rinsing vegetables and beans, or diluting prepackaged soups with water and then maybe adding, I like to add frozen vegetables. So canned vegetables are typically canned with a lot of sodium. So as I said, if you don't have the choice and you end up with canned beans or vegetables that are not reduced or no sodium, just rinse them. Are there any questions or comments? Salt is the main source of sodium in our diet. So sodium can come from other things, but salt, table salt is where most of it comes from.
So Renee, we have questions about the different types of salt. Indian
Okay.
salt and sea salt and Himalayan salt, those types. What is the difference between those and your standard salts with regard to sodium?
Those are great questions. So iodide, and I should have made a note about it, I apologize, but iodide is a necessary nutrient that is added to salt. We just need it in small amounts. So oftentimes sea salt is not iodized. And sometimes people tend to think that sea salt is going to be healthier because it's you know, it sounds more natural, just like people think that honey is more healthy than sugar, but the body still processes it the same. So even if you're using sea salt, it's a flavor preference. You still want to not have more than 1 teaspoon for the whole day. Does that answer the question about the different types of salt?
Yes, thank you.
She says yes.
Oh, good. Okay. And the other thing that you want to be careful of, so like Mrs. Dash does not use any sodium. But one time I was looking for lemon pepper. And because I'm in the habit of reading the labels, I automatically turned it over. Well, guess what the first ingredient was in lemon pepper?
Salt. The salt.
Salt.
That's all.
Yeah. So that is why it is so important for us to be reading the labels, because as I said, they can really do things that are misleading. The other thing that I wanted to tell you, it doesn't show you on here, but when the ingredients are listed, they're listed in order of weight. So for example, when I'm looking for cereal, if I see sugar in the first 3 ingredients, I know that sugar is going to be a main ingredient, and I don't buy it because I don't want a lot of sugar. And the same with salt. So if I'm looking at something and I see salt or sodium in the first 3 ingredients, that tells me they added a lot of salt. And when you look at the serving size, if it's ridiculously small, it means they're trying to hide something. So that's the first thing you want to look at, is the serving size. So like a can like this, most of us would eat ourselves in one sitting. But I know if I eat this, I have to double all of this information here. And for example, like a jar of prepackaged spaghetti sauce can have 21% of sodium in a half cup serving. So that's another thing to keep in mind, that most of us are not having a half cup. We're having more like a cup. So if you make your own spaghetti sauce or marinara sauce, you're going to have a lot less sodium in there. All right, and then, so this is my email. If anybody wants to ask questions or has specific things that you're interested in, you can go to ican.nmsu.edu to sign up for classes. And I think that is it.
All right. Thank you, Renee. Raelene, you want to take back over again? You're right now.
Don't touch me.
Thank you all for coming, and I hope that you got some ideas for how to reduce your salt intake. And as I've said, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I'll hang out for a few.
I have a question.
Yes.
So if you have high blood pressure and you're taking meds to control it, and so does that excuse you from reducing your salt consumption?
That's a great question. Even if you're taking medication to control hypertension or high blood pressure, you still want to be aware of the amount of salt that you're eating. So you still want to keep that to 1 teaspoon per day, and you want to look and reach for lower sodium options. And I want to remind you that our taste buds are, I remind children all the time, our taste buds don't stay the same. So maybe things that we liked at one point we don't like, or vice versa. But with salt and sugar also, you can wean your taste buds. So maybe if you're reducing the salt in small steps, not like all in one huge swoop, can make it more possible to stick to a reduced salt sodium diet. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. That was a great question. So yes, even if you're on medication for hypertension or high blood pressure, you still want to be wary. You still want to reduce your salt intake. And so when we are preparing food at home, we're much more likely to reduce our salt and fat and things like that because we're in control. Thank you for joining us. And I will be, I'll be coming to the Senior Center through Zoom on Wednesday. And I hope that you will take a walk, because walking also can help reduce your blood pressure. And it looks like a beautiful day today.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. If your schedule allows, like I put in the chat, you can join us now for a walk. We will wait a few minutes, but in the meantime, if anybody that's here that hasn't got their blood pressure checked may get it checked. And if you cannot join us for a walk, you can come by around 11:30 to pick up a lunch tray. Thank you very much, Renee, and we will see you on Wednesday.
Yes. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you.
Well, this will also be posted on YouTube later for your review. Thanks.